What's going on, guys? Seth here with Seth Francis Sim Racing, and we are back in Gran Turismo Sport. I just started a stream a few seconds ago, and for some reason it cut out, so had to restart it. That's okay, we are here now. Seems to be working. Yep, so we're at Dragon Trail for a Gr.3 class race. I'm in the V12 Vantage GT3. It's a 2012 model, and of course that's an Aston Martin. I haven't gotten the 4C yet. That car seems to do really well, and the Corvette C7 also does well, so I may use that in the next race. I'm not quite sure yet. I'd really like to get that 4C, so maybe that'll be today's workout car, basically, that you get for meeting your workout requirements. Real quick, I'll run through the settings. I don't even remember, to be honest, what I've adjusted from default. I just kind of jumped into this, so hopefully I do a little better than the last race. Last race I was talking a lot and not really paying attention to my driving. I think I came in last place. Hopefully this one will be a bit better. Alright, looks like we've got 10 seconds to grid. And as I mentioned in the last stream, there was an update that I saw today to the game. And in fact, it was about 9.7 gigabytes, and there was a few things that I saw in the write-up, and basically some changes to menus and whatnot that I won't get into right now. I'll show that all at a later time, but what was most important to me was the force feedback update. So I am really curious to see. I've only done one race so far, so I didn't really get a good chance to see how the force feedback feels or if it's any different, but I do look forward to learning that. I will say the force feedback felt very good before, but I had some problems, not problems because I was able to resolve them, but I had some feeling on center that I didn't like, a tendency to oscillate, and it still would happen if the force feedback was too high, even when you had the sensitivity down. I haven't had a chance to play with the settings to see if that's been corrected, but I can tell you that right now there is a little bit of like a shimmy back and forth, but it won't oscillate and spin out of control like it was before. Again, I do have to kind of play with the settings and try and exploit the oscillations in the way that I did previously, but with these settings right here, if I let go of the wheel before, it would, well, it is almost starting to oscillate there, but again, I'm using a very powerful wheel that most people wouldn't be using. Really what I would have to do is test it with my T500 to get an accurate assessment, because that's the type of wheel the force feedback in this game was designed for. It wasn't designed for a direct drive wheel. Although there is talk about some direct drive wheels coming out on the market. Ooh, they changed that track. You used to be able to cut that corner way inside. Can't do that anymore. But yeah, like I was saying, there is talk of a direct drive wheel. I know people have been speculating about the new Thrustmaster wheel being direct drive, but I'm quite confident it isn't. I believe that wheel will in fact have a belt, and the wheel I'm talking about is the one that was showcased at that event about a year ago that there were pictures of all over the internet, and there was talk about it supposedly being direct drive, but I do not believe that is the case, or will be the case. And there's also talk about Fanatec coming out with a direct drive wheel. I would like to think Fanatec will beat Thrustmaster to the mark on direct drive, but can't say for sure. I also would be more excited to see a Fanatec direct drive wheel than a Thrustmaster direct drive wheel. Not quite sure what that sound was. It was just like a, hey, you did something good sound, like bang. Not sure if it was for beating my previous time in that quarter of the lap, or section of the lap, sector I should say. Maybe. We'll have to see if it happens again if I beat my time in this sector as well. Yep, that's what it is. That is annoying as can be. Hopefully I can turn that off. I also don't like the thing that's telling me to brake all the time. Like right there, that barrier to the left didn't used to be there. But yeah, I hope that thing that keeps telling me when to brake can be turned off. I have to look in the settings, because that's really annoying. But yeah, and back to wheels. If Fanatec does make a direct drive wheel, there's no guarantee that it will be for PlayStation, because they don't have a PS4 wheel yet, but they are supposed to have a PS4 wheel coming out. You know, there's been talk from Fanatec about that, so you never know. Maybe they will come out with a direct drive wheel that's compatible with PS4. That would be awesome. That would definitely open the door to many more people playing this game over on the console side. And depending on the price point, it may be able to open the door to many people who are typically belt-driven wheel owners to then move to direct drive. Right now, you're pretty much, to get a decent direct drive system with your steering wheel and everything, you're looking at, you know, little under $1,000 if you really go cheap and build it yourself. So if they could come up with a system that with a rim and everything is, say, $1,200, and that would have the same amount of power, or preferably a little more than an AccuForce, and be smoother than an AccuForce using, you know, a true servo motor, not a stepper motor, or AccuForce calls their motor a servo stepper hybrid. Really all it is a stepper motor that's running in closed loop with an encoder. And while there's nothing wrong with that, the feeling is not nearly as smooth as what you get from a true servo motor. In my opinion, the CSW version 2 is smoother than the AccuForce, and really that opinion is just based on driving both the wheels and feeling how I can feel the teeth within the stepper motor, or the notches or steps, so to speak, on the AccuForce, and the CSW version 2 is completely smooth, much like a direct drive wheel would be. Now, of course, the CSW has a belt drive, which causes some of the force feedback to be lost, and the AccuForce does not have that. And, you know, don't get me wrong here, because the AccuForce is superior to the CSW version 2, absolutely. It's much stronger, provides much more detail, but there is that little caveat of feeling some notchiness when rotating the wheel, either under constant force, particularly when it's, you know, there's no power to the wheel and you're just rotating it back and forth. You can feel that saw-like feeling. Whoa, I just shot way up in the air. Good thing I was able to catch that. But, yeah, like I was saying, the AccuForce is a good wheel. I just don't like the fact that they use a stepper motor, and the fact that you can feel notches in the wheel. When something like a CSW version 2 can provide very smooth rotation. And yeah, like I was saying, of course, the AccuForce is more powerful, doesn't have belts to dampen or eat up any of the force feedback effects, so you get much more detail. But in my opinion, if you're going to make a direct drive wheel, go with the servo motor. Like the direct drive wheel that I use is a SimuCube control board powering a, you know, brushless servo motor. Very smooth, very refined feeling. Looks like that was the end of the race. That was awfully quick. But yeah, so I'm excited to see if Fanatec brings their own direct drive on the market. You know, right now, in order to use a direct drive wheel on PS4 like I'm doing, it takes a whole lot of modifying, and things that just aren't conventional, that 99% of people aren't going to do. And like I said before, I do not believe that the new Thrustmaster wheel everybody's speculating over will be direct drive. I could be wrong, but I just don't believe that it will be. If by chance it is a direct drive wheel, by the looks of the case, it doesn't appear that it could have a very powerful motor inside, given that all the electronics and everything would have to be enclosed in that one housing. But again, I could be wrong. Only time will tell. So normally I would end the stream right here, but why don't we go ahead and see what the gift car is. I'm hoping it's the 4C. I've been waiting for the 4C. So we shall find out. I'm also thinking, as I knock into my microphone, I'm also thinking that rather than exiting out of this stream and starting another stream at the next race, I might as well just let the stream carry through. Oh, a Subaru. And it's an N300 car, another road car. I didn't need that. I want the 4C GT3 car. Oh well. I will have to wait. That is an odd color right there. That's like a burnt orange. What's that called? Pure red. Huh. Looks orange to me. You know what? Let's go with white. Ironically, I just had to go jumpstart my cousin's car, and she has not an STI but a WRX that is very much like this. Same color in the I'm not sure if she has the ice silver metallic or crystal white pearl, but it is pretty sure it is the ice silver metallic. I'm gonna go with that. And the reason I remember her paint is because we were just talking today about the fact that she has a little nick, and she's gonna have to get that, you know, professionally repaired. And the body shop owner had mentioned that the paint will be difficult to match. So this time I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump in the Corvette. Why not? Give that a try. As you can see, this is different from the previous version. Previously there would be no cancel button here, and once you clicked the check here, it would take you to a page that just said OK, and even if you hit circle, you couldn't go back. You were stuck. So at least gives you an option if you click check by accident to go back and, you know, change your car or whatever you wanted to change. I think I'm going to make some setup adjustments to this car, because if I remember correctly, I wasn't happy with it last time I used this car at Dragon Trail. And if there's anything anybody wants to know, feel free to let me know in the chat. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I can't check it constantly while I'm driving, but I do try and glance over periodically without crashing. Oh, first I want to see if I can turn that ridiculous brake warning that I kept getting off. So let's see if I can do that. Driving marker, no. Show ghost, okay. And no, it does not look like I can. So I don't like that. I don't like that brake warning. It is very annoying. Well, what can you do? Nothing, apparently. So let's alter our setup here a little bit. Let's just bring a little bit into the front. Rear is fine. I want to bring this up to about 50's a bit too ballsy, but that's okay. Let's go down to 25 here, 15 here. Not quite sure how much of a difference any of this is going to make, but alright, what I want to do real quick is I just want to check the suspension, or excuse me, the transmission setup. to see if it is topping out too quickly, too late. Okay, that's cutting it a little bit close. And we'll see how the steering is as far as understeer goes. Not bad, not bad. Might check my camber settings. So, let's do this. Let's go into here, down to transmission. And let me see something here. 3515. Whoops, didn't want to do that. So that was at 3515. Okay, so let's do that. Let's take this down to 260. And just like that. Now I saw somebody online who was able to adjust this incrementally by individual digits, but I'm not quite sure how that was done because I can't seem to do that, which is too bad because I'd like to be able to. And yeah, you know what, why not bring this just a little like that. And real quick, check out my suspension setups. Oh yeah, let's bring that up to about 3.5, and 2.8 is good in the rear. Leave that just like that. A little less sway bar, a little less dampening. That'll be good. And I think that's good as well. This is all just kind of a guess on what's going to, well, an educated guess, but all just kind of a real down and dirty, quick setup adjustment to see if it makes much of a difference. The car wasn't bad to begin with, but the setup I'm running right now is definitely not going to be up to snuff with the vets, the C7s that have been coming in first place, because they are definitely spending a lot of time getting the perfect setup, whereas I just kind of jump into these races each night and see what happens. But anyways, if you're watching right now and you're not subscribed, feel free to go ahead and subscribe. Not only do I do the gameplay videos, but I also do a lot of hardware videos, modifications, you know, videos about force feedback wheels or whatever project I happen to be working on at the time. I'll also be doing reviews in the near future, like hardware reviews, shifters, and button boxes, wheels, things of that nature, so that will be coming. And like I said, if you have any questions at all, feel free to just pop them in the chat, and we'll try to glance over as I'm driving. Looks like I'm in about 16th place starting out this time. Oh, don't know how I just jumped to 7th place. That's interesting. But I'm not going to complain. Saab Max 9.3, I've raced him before. He's good. He qualied in first place, so... Any other C7s in this race here, or am I about to feel real stupid? Yeah, there's another one. I know day before yesterday when I was running this track in the GT3 class, it was either the C7s or the 4Cs that were coming up on the podium. Go ahead and warm up just for fun for about a minute. That's about all I got. Oh, let's watch the road. Adjusting my, no, don't want to adjust my fuel mapping. Where's my traction? Oh, it's backwards now. That's interesting. Alright, so, the only things I can really adjust in this car are brake balance and traction. I'm going to put the brake balance up at the front. Looks like we only got about 10 seconds left anyways, so... pull off to the side here. Sit and wait. I also notice when I watch races online, a lot of the guys that are coming in first place, are, you know, coming in at the front of the pack, are using game pads. You can tell by their steering inputs, because you could go from full lock in one direction to full lock in the other direction in a millisecond, you know, or a few milliseconds, just instantly. Whereas with a steering wheel, it's takes a bit more finesse, and obviously you can't steer as quickly as you can with a gamepad. And don't get me wrong, this game... Oh, thanks for hitting me. This game does a very good job. Or I should say the developers did a very good job of developing the physics with the steering wheel and the force feedback. And I will say, since the update, I can definitely feel a difference. It's much better. There used to be times when the force feedback would really knock you in each direction on center. In fact, anytime you went straight, and it's not like that anymore. You actually have a space in center where the two center forces aren't fighting each other. If you let go of the wheel, it still will start to oscillate, but not like it used to. Oh, got a car coming inside, another vet passing me. And oof, I hit that bump. I did that same thing in the last race, so my car shot way up in the air. Keep it straight. I'm pretty far back in the pack now. That's alright though. I might have this car set up a bit too low to be hitting those curbs like that. Or I might have the suspension a bit too stiff, so it's really kind of bouncing the car around. But yeah, no, the force feedback, there's absolutely a big difference. Now that I'm driving it more, I can really feel it. It feels more refined and fine-tuned. And the biggest thing I noticed though is just the feeling on center. It's not yanking my hands back and forth. I would typically, with the wheel that I'm running, add in some artificial friction on the, on the PC side, because again, I'm using a non-conventional wheel through GIMX software, and I can still use my PC driver to control how the force feedback feels on this wheel. So I would add some friction in to avoid that oscillation, and I've taken the friction out, but I'm still not getting that heavy jerking back and forth. Like I said, there will be some shaking which will turn into oscillation if I take my hand off the wheel completely, but it is nothing like it used to be. That Ferrari was going all over the place. Who was that? Was Saab Max 93. I wonder if he had a bad internet connection, because he's actually a good driver. He usually beats me. In the races I've been with him in the past, he's always beaten me. Oh, why is he hitting me? Am I not remembering this person right? Maybe this is somebody whose name I remember because he's incredibly dirty, but it seems to me like he just has a bad internet connection. And like I said, you got any questions or anything, feel free to just, you know, throw them in the chat thing, and I'll, you know, answer them as I'm driving here. I try and glance over as I can. There's also apparently changes to the driving physics, but I certainly can't, you know, verify that this soon, having only done a couple races now since the update. I definitely have to drive some more and experience circumstances which I remember experiencing previously, you know, like just certain behaviors of the vehicle under certain situations, and certain car track combos that I've driven a lot. This car I haven't driven much at all in the previous build, so I'll have to drive some of the cars I drive more often, like, you know, the Hyundai Genesis and the GR4 class. I'll have to do some more laps in the Aston Martin. I've driven that a lot. The WRX GT3, I've driven that a lot. The Nissan GTR, I've driven that a lot. So I'll have to try some of those out and see how the physics feel. But I will say, right now driving the game, it feels very good. I was excited when I saw an update today. The update actually came out yesterday, but I didn't play yesterday. I was excited when I saw an update come up, because I was like, I wonder what it's going to be all about. And when I saw physics and force feedback updated, I was even more excited. And so far, it feels very good. I'm definitely happy. That noise is annoying as can be. Let's go ahead and pop into some other views here. I don't really like driving outside a cockpit view, but might as well see what some of them look like. Looks like there's somebody coming up behind me, yep. Better get back into my comfort zone here for that. Don't want to give up my position. Ooh, which I think I'm about to. To the Mercedes. Creamy Goodness 75. What a name. Catch that fishtail. I will say that the cars aren't sliding out as quick as they used to. You can feel more like the kind of like the weight shift and make corrections than I used to be able to before. At least this is just something I'm kind of noticing off the cuff since the last update. Like when I fishtailed a little bit there getting on the gas, any of these rear wheel drive GT3 cars used to really skid out easily when you would hit the gas really quickly. There seems to be more grip in the rear now coming out of corners. I can get on the gas heavier. That's such a short race. Man. I mean, 4 laps just flies by on that track. I'm on like 20 laps. So we had Scope Eye 33 in the pole position. And we'll go ahead and leave this stream going for a few minutes and jump on into the next race, which will be the final race of the night. Don't believe there's going to be any more. I think I'm going to go ahead and use that Mercedes AMG GT3, since a lot of people seem to be using that car as well. And let's see, there's the AMG GT3, and then there's the SLE. I'm going to use the AMG GT3, not the SLS. Looks like I've got enough time where I can do a quick little half lap or whatever, see if I like the setup, and then make some adjustments. I like how on the spoiler risers you can even see the holes for tilting the spoiler and adjusting it. That's pretty cool that they detailed that in. Yeah, let's check my setup really quick. Okay, so that's okay. I'm going to bring this up because I always like this a bit higher. Bring that down because I always like that a bit lower. I don't want a lot of downforce. And so let's see how this handles right now. Oh, I love the cockpit in this car, it's so gorgeous. I really should be using one of my like F1 style rims, but instead I'm using a regular round rim. That'll do. Don't feel like swapping it out at the moment. Alright, so this car is getting right up above 250 on that straight section before I have to brake. Oh, this car feels good, I have to say. We might have to adjust things just a little. Oh, do I have any? No traction control, good. I don't want traction control. Lots of grip in this car, wow. I'm very surprised by that. I thought this car was going to be kind of weighty and all over the place, kind of, you know, sliding through corners, understeering, but it's not bad. I may make some small adjustments, like a bit more camber. Oh, yeah, that wasn't good. Just as I talk about this car not having understeer, I understeer directly into that barrier. So, yeah, I will make a little bit of camber adjustment, negative camber, maybe a little bit of suspension adjustment. But overall, it's not bad. It's pretty planted. I actually like this car. You can see the mirrors, which is nice. Can't see the mirrors in all the cars in this game. And they don't all have a rear-facing camera either. So some of the cars You can't see behind you at all. No mirrors, no rear-facing camera, nothing. Okay, well, at least I know the limit. Let's go ahead and pause, exit, settings, just a bit softer. Actually, we're gonna go a good bit softer. This I want way up. That can stay as is. We'll leave that like that. And the transmission, just a few clicks in this direction. Alright, so anything else I want to alter? Bring that up one more. Can adjust that while driving. And alright, you know what? Let's just go with this, see what happens. And I want to really quickly try out... No, I don't want that. I want to bring this to mild. See how that does. Hopefully this setup isn't worse. If it is, I'll have to go back to the other one if I have time. Use the rev limiter to slow the vehicle down there. Use the engine load anyways. Oh man, this car holds a slide nice. That was fun. Ooh, I didn't get a penalty there. I'm surprised. I thought I was going to be too far inside. Alright, so now I like this. It's handling pretty good. I can work with this. I don't know if it'll be a top of the grid car come time for racing, but I think it'll do well. The car will. Can't speak for myself. I may not do well. Hey, will I get in this lap? I hope it counts that as my qualifying time. That would be awesome. Not sure if I caught it quick enough for it to count. I think it was a 144, so we'll have to see. This is going to be the final online hosted race of the night. This is the last one they hold. Unfortunately, I usually, by the time I get home and am able to jump into a race, I usually miss the road car races. I like some of the 8-shift cars, but one thing I didn't like, and I'm not sure if they fixed it in the update. They did do my updated time, but while you could use the H shifter in the H shift cars in practice or at qualifying, it wasn't allowing me to use the H shifter in a race. So I'm not sure why that was. I tried a couple different cars, but it's just the way it was, I guess. So it looks like I'll be starting at 14th this time. Better qualifying time, but in a worse position. I'll go ahead and warm up while I'm doing nothing here. Pit out. Just like the other Gran Turismo games, you can't drive your own car in the pit. It goes into autopilot. Oh, that was odd. No steering power at all there. It was very strange. Pretty sure I came into the corner properly. One thing I noticed that's changed about the force feedback is I can feel when I shift now. Especially on acceleration, I can feel it in the steering wheel. Car going off track a bit here. That's okay. Man, it is fun to slide in this car. It's very controlled. There's definitely a difference in the car handling than you know, from the previous update, because there weren't any cars that, you know, you could really kind of easily control slide. You could, but not quite as delicately as that. The cars, rear-wheel drive GT3 cars since the update definitely seem to slide out in a slower fashion. You can really feel the weight build up and then start to slide and correct it or hold it if you want to. In the previous build, it wasn't quite as bad as GT6, but there was still a tendency of a little too much gas and all of a sudden whoop, spins right out, or you have to be extremely fast with the controls in order to correct the slide. Now it's more natural, more realistic. And again, this may just be optimization for steering wheels, as that's what I use, so I can't speak for gamepads. I think that first corner there, my tires are just cold or something, because even right there, oh, I'm getting hit. That wasn't cool, dude. What's your problem? Man, people, it's the one thing you can't fix with this game is the dirty drivers. They don't care about their sportsmanship rating, they're just being dirty. It's just how they roll. It makes you want to drive dirty, especially to, like, get back at certain people, like the guy in that Mercedes. I think it's Creamy Goodness, too. I saw him in the last race. Frickin' Creamy Goodness. Leave it to a person with a name like that to be, like, ramming into people on track. Oh, sorry, I tried to go inside of that Ferrari, didn't mean to bump him. At least that's from behind, though. When somebody just bumps me dead on from behind, I don't mind, because it doesn't spin me out. It's when people hit you on the inside, mid-corner, and try and spin you out that is dirty. Or when somebody comes up alongside you and just checks you into the wall. It's like, really? Ooh, see, caught that slide right there. It's fun too. It's like fun to catch a slide now. It makes me want to try drifting in this game. I'm liking this car, definitely liking it. I think I like it better on this track than the V12 Vantage. Oh, we ghosted. some of those cars that are kind of jolting around like that, it may not be the fault of the driver. It could be the internet connection that's making their car jump all over the place. That noise is extremely annoying. I don't know if that shows up on the stream, but every time I hit a sector and do a faster time than my last lap, and it's like boing. It is so annoying and loud, and you know, wearing headphones, it's just obnoxious. Got the Audi coming around me. I don't think I have that car in my list of GT3 cars. Oh, that is fun. That's a fun corner to take right there. Got a Corvette right on my tail. You went right around me on the outside there. Good job, Vet. Good job. That's Sobmax 93, the guy whose connection was going all crazy last race. Last race he was in a Ferrari. And we're already on the second to last lap. These races are so very quick. 4 laps with GT3 cars that are quick like this is just not enough. We need more laps. I know they won't give us like 20, but at least give us 10. I'm pretty sure most people can handle a 10-lap race. That car went off. Was that was the Saab guy who went off the track. He was kind of jumping around all over again. I don't know if that was his connection or if he was just driving like an idiot. Hold that slide. Man, I'm not afraid to just mash on the gas coming out of a corner anymore, because I know if it does slide, I can now control it. Nice. That was a fun pass right there. Fishtailing sideways. Past those 2 cars. Past Creamy Goodness, it looks like. Now let's see if I can get around AA26. Man, that noise is annoying. So annoying. Oh no, I went into the wall. Fail on my part. I'm probably behind the Saab guy and Creamy Goodness. Oh, man, what have I done? All the way back into 12th place. Mama said there'd be days like this. That's okay. I did figure out that I really like this car a lot. I'm going to use this more often in GT3 races. It's so planted to the ground. Ferrari coming up on my tail here. Slide, slide, slide. You can feel it just slowly creeps out the back end, and you can really control it. No more of that all of a sudden you're on ice out of the, you know, for no reason. Hey, what's going on? We got some people in the chat. Let me just finish up this race. I'm going to go ahead and check out the chat. Answer some of your questions. Sorry, Ferrari, didn't mean to bump you there. It's okay, you're bumping me back. I'm gonna squeeze you, you ain't getting around me, bruh. Alright, so I'm on the standard PS4. What's going on, Tom JHR Sim Racing? And what's going on, Racing Game Show? No, I am not on a G29. I'm actually on a Direct Drive wheel that is working through GIMX software, which in order to emulate a G29. So the PS4 thinks I'm on a G29, but in reality, I'm on a Direct Drive wheel. If you look through the past of my videos, you'll see I did a video about using the Direct Drive wheel with PS4 and Gran Turismo Sport. Basically, it's through something called GIMX, which uses a PC, a laptop, or right now I'm using my gaming computer, but it can even be a weak computer, any computer. Basically uses the computer as a hub, combines all your inputs. Like right now I'm using Clubsport pedals, a Direct Drive wheel, a USB steering wheel rim with buttons, and a button box, and my Clubsport shifter. And I can map inputs from any of those to whatever inputs I want on the G20, to whatever inputs I want to emulate from the G29. So basically from there, the PC takes all your controllers, combines them into one, sends that info to an Arduino or a Teensy board, and the Arduino or Teensy board sends that info to the PS4 as if it's coming from a G29. So you get full force feedback and everything. Yeah, just definitely check the video out, Racing Game Show. It's cool. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, if you have an OSW, like going back to consoles, I wouldn't say is necessarily worth it, but there's no reason you have to stop playing on PC. Like, I'll do races in Gran Turismo, and the great thing is I have everything hooked up to my gaming PC, so when I want to use my gaming PC, I just unplug the GIMX, and I, play right on my gaming PC. So, another thing I'll say, and this is especially true after the update they just did yesterday. Today was the first time I played the new update, but it came out yesterday. So yeah, this is especially true since this update, but the force feedback and driving physics, the way the cars feel, is actually really good. Particularly the force feedback feels awesome. I liked the force feedback before the most recent update, but if you watch some of my previous videos, I did talk about how there wasn't a good feeling on center. You could kind of feel the steering wheel yanking back and forth a bit. That is almost completely gone. If you're holding the steering wheel driving straight, you're not feeling it jerking your hands back and forth. And they've also added a whole bunch more detail that I wasn't feeling, like shift effects and even more texture feeling coming from the road. So I definitely think if you have an OSW and you have a little bit of knowledge with things similar to Arduino projects and whatnot, or of course you can just buy the adapter for like 20 bucks or whatever, I do think it's worth it. It does take some setting up, within the GIMX software to configure your pedal axes and configure your pedal axes and steering axes to get that perfectly. Everything else you just map, but you have to set up your steering wheel and pedal axes so that they're linear within the game. But that's something, if you do it, I can help you with. I've already gone through the numbers for my setup, so let's see here. There's no more races, but why don't I go ahead on Nürburgring and let's pick a car here. This way I can kind of talk a little bit more about the force feedback. This is a car I've driven quite a bit, the Nissan. But you know what? I want to try one of the BMWs. I want to try this BMW right here. And let's go ahead and no problem at all, Racing Game Show. Let's go ahead and just drive a little bit on Nordschleife. This way I won't be racing. I can kind of pay attention to the force feedback and physics. I do plan on doing a video. I do plan on doing a video that focuses just on force feedback and physics, but right now I can just drive a little bit and kind of give a quick rundown. Does it always stay on 60 frames per second on the standard PS4? That's a good question. I don't notice any tearing, and not that that is relevant to how many frames you're getting, but I also don't notice any stuttering. But you know what? Let's drive right now. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to monitor the frames per second on the PS4. But let's go ahead and drive, and we'll pay attention, it'll be hard to see in the stream, but I'll pay attention to the trees and see if they seem to be moving in, you know, incremental steps, like I can see with low frame rates on the PC. And I have to say though, every time I've played it seemed very smooth overall. I haven't noticed any big drops where the game starts, you know, becoming almost like a slideshow or anything. In fact, the only thing that looks anything like that I've seen are the cars from people who have bad internet connections that are just like skipping around. This is a fun car. This car drives real well. I'm surprised I don't think I've ever driven this car. This BMW. I've driven the other BMWs, not this one. Ooh, let's see. Didn't catch that one. Came in a little too hot. So as far as a solid 60 frames per second, I can't confirm that in a literal manner as far as, yes, these are the numbers, but I can say that it's very smooth gameplay. There was never a time when I noticed or felt like the game wasn't moving smoothly. I would imagine that the way they developed the game was to maintain 60 frames per second. I don't know if any of the... Actually, that's not true. I am pretty darn sure that on a PS4 Pro, particularly with like an HDR TV, you can get better graphical effects. But, alright, so let's see while I'm watching the trees go past here. It's very bumpy, so it's a bit hard to tell as I crash. Now let me just move not too fast, but let me go out of this camera. This will be better. We'll go in this camera. Let's see how the trees are moving. Yeah, with my naked eye, I can't see anything that appears like stuttering. If you really kind of pay attention, you can tell that the trees are moving in many tiny incremental steps, but it's so quick and smooth that just driving and, you know, looking at it, it appears like everything's traveling past you fluidly. So there's definitely nothing that jumps out at me and says, whoa, all of a sudden my frames are dropping. It definitely looks better than what 30 frames per second would look like on a PC. It looks, in fact, I have to say on the PC side, even when I'm running at 60 frames per second, I can see a lot of incremental steps. And this just seems to move very smoothly. So in other words, no complaints in that department. Now, I haven't used this game on a PS4 Pro, so I can't say what type of benefit you might, you know, gain. I very well could try it on a PS4 Pro and be like, whoa, this is amazing, the colors and the, you know, graphical quality, fluidity, but everything seems very fluid to me here, and there's nothing I would complain about. Just as I was turning there, I'm not sure if it was the bumps in the road, but you can maybe see a little bit of stepping as the screen shifts, but again, it's hard to tell if it was just the camera bouncing around. Alright, so this way the camera, I think, stays still. I can't drive worth crap from external camera, but that's okay. Yeah, there's nothing I can nitpick on as far as frames per second. To my eye, it looks very good. Again, somebody else who's, you know, more susceptible to frame rates may have an issue. But I will say I'm pretty sensitive to frame rates on the computer. I need, you know, I need at least 90 frame rates average to have a good playing experience on the PC in a racing game. However, on the console side, and again, it could very well be the way the games are optimized to run on this system, but this looks better than 60 frames per second on a PC to me. I know it won't be because the system's not allowing the game to operate greater than 60 frames per second as far as I know, but it looks very fluid and smooth. Now let me look up as I'm turning. Very little bit of stepping you can see, not stuttering, but just like, you know, very little bit of incremental stepping you can see when the scene is swinging as you turn, but nothing that you notice, like you really have to look for it. Now let me jump into cockpit mode, back to the force feedback. As I've been driving here, this is the first time I've driven, is this the first time I've driven Nordschleife? No, this is the second time I've driven such since the update. But it's the first time I've driven Nordschleife with a GT3 car since the update, and it's incredible. It feels very, very close to driving something like Assetto Corsa. Feels better than Project Cars does in its original state. Project Cars on the PC, I have to run tweaker files in order to get good force feedback, but this feels much better than Project Cars feels in its, you know, authentic original state, without altering anything. I would put this very, very close to the force feedback feeling you get from something like Automobilista. You don't get like the engine rumble effects and whatnot that you can add in Automobilista, but as far as like overall feedback, feeling the bumps in the road, it's sort of like a cross between R-Factor 2-ish, Automobilista-ish feedback and Assetto Corsa type feedback. And at the same time, and let me turn down, because I have some dampening on my driver. Let me turn that down and see how it feels. Yeah, I would say it's definitely on par with Assetto Corsa's force feedback. It's very good. What was really turning me off about the force feedback previously is not there now, which is the steering wheel being yanked really heavily left and right as the centering force would fight each other. The centering forces would fight each other like on a straightaway. That does not happen anymore. There will be a subtle little, you know, feeling left and right as you hit bumps and whatnot, but there won't be this like heavy oscillating force yanking your hands back and forth, which there was before. It feels very, very good. It's definitely better than Gran Turismo 6. I mean, way, way, way better. Especially with a direct drive wheel like this, like I'm using right now. Ow, that was my knuckle that just cracked. The steering wheel spun around. I'm curious to pop my T500 on my rig and turn some laps with that, and I will probably do that before I make an official physics and force feedback video. But with the setup I'm using right now, basically the setup I'm using right now, while it's a direct drive wheel, it's getting sent the exact same signals that a G29 would be sent, and I'm sure that they model the force feedback quite similarly throughout all wheels. So I would imagine the only difference between what I'm using right now and a belt drive wheel would be the typical forces that you lose through using a belt drive wheel. In other words, there's nothing about a direct drive wheel that's causing Gran Turismo to send a better signal. It's still sending the same signal it would send, it's just about what your wheel can do with that signal. Let me pause here and see. This is just how, at this time of day, I'm seeing Eduardo Hernandez. Yeah, that brightness with where you can't see the track or the grass, that's just how this section of track is at that time of day when the light is straight overhead. I can't turn HDR on because I don't have an HDR monitor, so that's the option won't even allow you to turn it on. As I get into other sections of track, you'll see that changes. I've complained about this in the past, where it literally gets blinding in certain spots where you can't tell where the road is and where the grass is, so it becomes very difficult. But as you see, as the light changes, the contrast between the road surface and the grass becomes much more crisp and clear. So I'm not running any artificial brightening settings. I have my monitor set up exactly how I run on PC. And I have all my, light settings set up correctly. I don't have anything altered on the PS4 side. For some reason I think it's supposed to be their way of translating the light glaring off of the pavement and all the surfaces and the guardrails and kinda making a bright mass of white light. But in reality what it does is makes it very difficult to see the road. I also noticed that it's only on this track at this particular time of day that happens. And as we come through here, you can see it's not as bright. You can see the road and everything perfectly fine. But other sections, as you turn and the sun becomes dead ahead, like this, where you can see there's no shadows, the sun is right above, it becomes so bright that it washes everything out. I don't like that so much. I don't mind that it washes out the road, but you should still be able to really tell where the grass is. The grass shouldn't be washed out as well. Let me just pause and read here. Reboot? I'm not quite sure what reboot means, but I have watched other streams as well, and I have seen pretty much the same effect. And like I said, there's nothing that's altered with my brightness settings. I don't see how that could be. I mean, I could check over, but I can't really check my TV settings or my monitor settings right now because it won't show on the stream anyways, but I don't have HDR settings on or anything like that. I'm telling you, it's on Nordschleife at certain times a day and certain areas of the track that it happens. I'm not sure how it looks on the stream, to be quite honest, as opposed to what I see. But what I see is like this section right here is washed out. And as I come into this section, I can see a bit better. And it seems to correlate with when the sun is directly overhead. I suppose what I could do, and not right now, but what I could do at another time is use a different monitor or TV and just test it to see if that's the case. But I don't think so, because I don't have any issues whatsoever with these exact same monitor settings on the PC side, and there's really not too much I can adjust on the game side as far as brightness. That's something I actually can go into that menu and look. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll go into that menu in just a minute actually, and we will see together what my settings are. As far as the PS4, I have no clue if there's settings for brightness on the PS4. I didn't really think of that. I literally bought this PS4 to play Gran Turismo, so I didn't play the PS4 beforehand. I bought it used, so I could always see if there's a setting within the PS4 that may be causing that. Yes, in the worst spots in game too, like what's showing, well, not what's showing right now because I'm watching the stream, so that was previously. But yeah, on some points while I'm driving as well, I can't see the side of the road. I can't see the grass. I've complained about it in past streams. So you know what? Let's do this right now. Let's go look at my settings. Because maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to figure it out too. Let's, first things first, let's go into Gran Turismo settings. Maybe they've added more settings, but there didn't used to be all that many. So let's go to options here. We're going to want video output. Alright, so exposure. Okay, so I did have the exposure up. I wonder why that is. But let me put that down and see if that makes a difference. I'll jump right back in. But see, okay, so this is just HDR stuff. I can't adjust this. But let me try with the exposure value down now and see. Hey, maybe I was wrong. If not, someone in the chat will have to let me know if there's settings within the PlayStation itself. So let's see what happens now. And so right now I just have it at dead center. It actually looks quite good right here. You know what? You guys very well may have been right, and I may be wrong, because this looks much better. I don't know how I certainly wouldn't have turned that up intentionally, so I have no clue why the hell I would have done that. But it looks much better. You are right, Eduardo. Much, much better. It almost looks a little... almost like there's not quite enough brightness right now, but it's actually much, much, much better. I like this a lot. Great contrast. Thank you very much. Shows how much I mess around on the PS4. I do remember going in there just to look at the HDR settings, and I realized, like, oh, I can't adjust them. But I do not recall adjusting exposure value or anything like that. Typically, I leave those things in their stock form. Alright, so, wow. Do you know how many times I've gone off the track and, like, if you watch my past videos, like, you'll see, well, it would probably be really boring because I don't even remember which videos they were in, but there were a handful of times at least that I was in races and all of a sudden I couldn't see anywhere on the track, and I was like, okay, well, I can't see anything on the track, so I'm about to crash into this wall, and I would lose places. And I was convinced that it had something to do with the lighting in the game, and convinced so much so that I was confident I hadn't changed any settings, so I wouldn't even acknowledge that in my mind. When I would start to think about the brightness, I would just think, oh, it's just how they have the lighting in this game, how annoying. And all along, I was suffering for no reason. I'm actually very happy that, that you guys pointed that out, because I really thought that's just kind of how it was. I thought it was something like they were trying to, like, show the glaring of the sun or something glaring off the aluminum guardrails in the road and whatnot. Looks really good now. Wow. I've streamed I don't know how many races or videos with the exposure all the way up like that. It'll definitely go down in history as one of my dunce moments. Yeah, Kenny, they very well may not have set it to max exposure by default. One thing I have a feeling might have happened, when they, in the previous build of this game, if you turned the steering wheel like the slightest bit off center, it would increment or decrement whatever setting you were on. Like right now, if I turn the wheel all the way to the right or left, it doesn't affect the menus at all, because the steering for some reason doesn't do that anymore. But it didn't used to be like that. It used to be if I went a few degrees to the right, it would all of a sudden, you know, move all the way over to exit. You could use the steering wheel to change menu settings, in other words, and it would be very sensitive. So there were many times that I would accidentally scroll through a menu and be like, oh, I have to go back. So it's very possible that I had clicked on that and not realized that the steering wheel had brought it all the way up. But nevertheless, no excuse for my stubbornness in the matter. And yes, you are very right, Eduardo. We all did learn. Well, I'm pretty sure you already had the knowledge. I learned something. That's alright. I like to learn. I could definitely admit when I am wrong. Dragon Trail, I think they just took Dragon Trail away. I think the only ones we have right now are Willow Springs, Brands Hatch, and Nordschleife. I just did a race at Dragon Tail, but it, the races are over now, and when the new races for tomorrow got switched in, Dragon Trail was taken away, so they'll probably put it back, you know, in a couple days or whatever, after the weekend. They seem to switch up the tracks. I know that's what the stream is named, but that's because we've been in here since previously, since when I was doing the 3 races at Dragon Tail. And now this is just kind of a little after driving I was doing to initially to feel the force feedback effects, which I might add are incredible since the last update. Definitely the best force feedback I have ever felt from a Gran Turismo title is what I'm feeling right now since this last update. It's I'm very impressed. It's the first time I can ever confidently compare the force feedback in Gran Turismo to the force feedback found on PC and not have to put any asterisks next to the explanation or next to the comparison. Like, it feels like a piece like R Factor 2, except there doesn't have to be any except now. It is that realistic and direct. Especially with, if only I could drive, we would be perfect. Especially with the wheel that I'm using. It's, I mean, just pulling up, I'm gonna go back actually, because just getting myself off the side of the track, as far as it still being in beta, and if you want to be able to play the beta, there are still sign-ups. Let me think of how I can, let me see if I can right now. You know what I'll do? Afterwards, I'll post in the comments the link, but at the Gran Turismo, I'm not sure if it's the Gran Turismo or PlayStation website, it's the Gran Turismo website, you can sign up, at least in the US. So it is still in beta, and they actually just recently, a week or two ago, put out a thing, basically a more detailed sign up, where you can write in a description that talks about, okay, yeah, if you want to look it up. But yeah, no, you can still sign up, definitely. They even have a thing now where you can put in a little explanation or whatever of, you know, why you think you would be good at beta testing the game or something to that effect. Okay, so as I go over this little section here, let me back up and just drive slowly over this. Come on, guardrail, get out of my way. Drive slowly over this carousel here. As I come in, I mean, I can feel every little bump. I mean, the steering wheel's just vibrating and shaking in my hand as I go over that kind of textured bit of uneven pavement there. It's incredible, it really is. I will hands down say that nobody will be disappointed with the force feedback in this game. I still have to try it out with a belt-driven, you know, conventional wheel and see what I think, but what I'm feeling right now is impressive. Any of the little nitpicks that I had originally with the force feedback in the GT Sport beta have been corrected. You know, such as the centering forces fighting with each other when you're going straight. While you still do feel bumps on center, it's just that bumps that you're feeling. It's not the centering forces fighting each other. And I mean, another thing that I've noticed too is there's not as much clipping in the signal. Now the wheel I'm using will never clip at the settings that, you know, that I'm running. It's so I know that the wheel will never clip. But pre-update, when you would come through really hard corners, like I have the force feedback on 5 right now, which it wouldn't do it very much, but it would do it a little bit. Like a corner like that, or like a corner where there's a lot of spring force, you would stop feeling the bumps and you would only feel the spring force. That doesn't happen anymore. There's so much more detail through the corners. There's not one moment on this track right now that my wheel isn't alive and vibrating back and forth and rumbling and, you know, allowing you to feel every little undulation and imperfection in the road surface. It's impressive. It really is. I'm very, very, very happy. And like I said, I was running a filter within the driver on this wheel to dampen a lot of that yanking on center, and I have the filter completely off now. It used to be on 23.62%. I have it completely off now, and I feel very little yanking on center. There isn't like oscillation like the center forces fighting with each other, just the normal bumps. Of course, in a stiff suspension car, if you let go of the wheel, it's going to yank back and forth, but that's because you're hitting bumps and it's literally knocking the wheels back and forth. It's not crazy oscillation like I used to feel. But I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this lap and end the stream. I appreciate you guys watching though. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to. I stream a lot of GT Sport. I've been doing that a lot lately. Really what I try and focus on with my videos is hardware. So in a lot of my streams, gameplay streams, I'll talk about hardware, but I also, you know, do videos on like mods that I do, and there will be review videos coming up, basically where I review sim racing hardware. I have a shifter I'm going to review, a button box, and my Direct Drive wheel I plan on reviewing as well. So yeah, if you want to stop back by sometime and check out a video, feel free to subscribe. But anyways, yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks for teaching me what I didn't already know about my exposure value, Eduardo. Much appreciated. And other than that, I will be... Tomorrow is Friday, so I'm not sure if there's weekend hours or not as far as the races go, but I will be streaming tomorrow, so maybe you guys will catch that if you're online. But thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go get a snack and get myself to bed because I have a busy day tomorrow. Catch you at the next one. Oh, real quick, what other games do I play? Pretty much any of the racing games on PC. I don't play anything else on console, but I play iRacing is one of my favorites, particularly for the physics and force feedback. I also like Assetto Corsa. I really like R-Factor 2. Race Room, I can't get the perfect force feedback feeling out of that game, but I like everything else about the game. I also like Automobilista, and I like to get in that Formula Truck series sometimes within Automobilista. That's fun. So, but I also like games like Spin Tires, BeamNG, American and Euro Truck Simulator, My Summer Car, so all kinds of different games, but mostly driving and vehicle related games. But yep, good night to you guys too, and thanks on the good stream, Kenny. Same goes to you, Racing Game Show. Hopefully I will see you again.